What is going on, guys? I am Consumer Tech Review, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Corsair K70 TKL Champion Series. I'm going to do the unboxing for you, and then I'm going to go over the pros and the cons and my own real life experience that I've had with this keyboard. And if at any point during the video, if you want to check out this exact same keyboard, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, and Canada. I do got you guys, but let's jump into the unboxing. Here's a timestamp if you want to skip it. All right, guys, unboxing the Corsair K70 RGB TKL, and this is part of the Champion Series. Typical Corsair, got that awesome box, and all of this is actually texturized. This specific one does come with the cherry silver speed switches. All right, let's get this thing unboxed. There it is. Got the manual in a little bag, which is nice. And then in the plastic, here is the keyboard. Already it feels pretty heavy. Let's get this thing out of the plastic. And there is the K70. This is a good looking keyboard. All right, let's check the box. We have a USB-C cable, and we have some extra keycaps that are super grippy with that triangle pattern, which is really cool. And then we have a keycap puller. It's not a super nice keycap puller, but it will work. Let's get these pull tabs off. Okay, right off the bat, what a beautiful looking keyboard. I mean, just look at that thing. All right, now we got a scroll wheel here, which is not tactile, which I actually kind of like. It has that same triangle pattern. We've got play, pause buttons up here, which are a tactile feel, and they actually feel good. They don't feel mushy, which is good. But that is the unboxing of the Corsair K70 RGB TKL Champion Series. Take it away, Future Consumer Tech Review, with the full review. And we are back. Let's jump right into the very first pro, which is the build quality. Wow, is this thing built really, really, really well. All right, the entire top of this thing is a single piece of machined aluminum. It's freaking so solid. It's thick. You can literally see it. It's kind of like a minimalistic design, but also not at the same time. It's like a modern design. So instead of having the metal edges just like kind of move into the base of the keyboard, this kind of like floats, and it's very cool. And it's super solid. Okay, so the top is all this machined aluminum. It has kind of like a direction to it. You can kind of feel the texture of it. It's really, really nice. But the entire top is a single piece. So there's no like, there's a top ridge where you have some of the multimedia keys. That's all the same piece of metal as the deck, and it even curves down where your hands are about to go on the keys. So overall, the craftsmanship of this keyboard is like really, really good. Now the base is a plastic, and it's not the best feeling plastic in the world, but this does not affect the solid feeling of the keyboard on top, because that metal deck is just, it's thick. And then besides that, you do have flip out risers, and they're not flip up risers, they're flip out, because this keyboard actually has the risers that flip out to the sides, which is actually very stable and actually a better design. And it's super grippy to the desk, so that won't be an issue for gaming. This thing also feels pretty heavy. All right, now let's talk the multimedia keys on the top, because this is a TKL, but it does have that little ridge on the top with all these multimedia keys, which is really awesome. They are a tactile feel, and they feel really, really good. A lot of companies won't put as much effort into these multimedia keys. Corsair is not one of those companies. They put a lot of effort into the feeling of them. Obviously, they're not mechanical switches, but they feel really, really good. And when you press it all the way in, it feels solid at the end. These buttons include pause, play, fast forward, profiles, brightness of your RGB, and a locking Windows key, and then a mute. Now, this also includes a scroll wheel, which is very, very nice. It has that triangle pattern design that Corsair uses on all of their products, and it is not tactile to match the switches. This is a smooth scrolling one, although it's fairly heavy, and it is very precise. Like, there's some scroll wheels that I've used on a lot of different keyboards. This one is super, super precise. So it is really good for gaming, because if you just want to turn it down a little bit or just turn it up a little bit, it works really well for that. Accuracy is the word for the scroll wheel. All right, let's talk the switches. This is using Cherry MX Speed Silver switches. These are the RGB version of that switch. So these are the Silver Speed Switch RGBs. Now these are a faster actuation, obviously for gaming. These actuate at 1.2 millimeters and have a total distance of 3.4 millimeters. These are also fairly light switches at 45 to 46 grams of pressure, and they are rated for 100 million keystrokes. Now, personally, I would have preferred something like a Kale Silver Speed Switch or a Gateron Yellow Switch. However, I think Corsair and Cherry are kind of like, they have a deal together or something, so pretty sure that's why this switch is used on this. However, it does get that fast actuation. If you want good RGB and you want that quick actuation, the Speed Silver Switch is gonna be very good for that. And here is the sound test. And that is how it sounds. All right, let's talk keycaps now. Corsair is using double shot PBT keycaps on this, which is awesome to see straight from the factory. We do expect that though at the price point. Now, these do have some texture to them, which is nice. It's not an overly crazy texture, but they are definitely not fully smooth. I think it's pretty good. This also has good fonts on it. So some companies use terrible fonts, although it's Corsair, they're not gonna use terrible fonts. They're actually like really up there with fonts. They do a good job with them. The shine through is also quite good as well. PBT sometimes has some imperfections from printing them. These you like cannot see imperfections, which is actually really cool. It's nice to know that their quality control with their keycaps are quite good. Now, let's also talk about some additions that you get with these keycaps. We're seeing this on a lot of different Corsair keyboards that give you some extra keycaps. Did I say switches? I meant keycaps. So yeah, they do give you extra keycaps and they are very, very cool. So I think you get W, A, S, D, F, Q, and R. I think those are the keycaps that you get. And I think you get double ones. I think you get double W's, double S's, so you get 2 of them. And basically these are for gaming. So they are curved up on the edges. So it's kind of like very ergonomic. So when your fingers are in there, they're like pushing against stuff. And one, this is awesome to include this just because it feels like a more premium experience. And secondly, it feels so much better in game without taking away any usability. Now, beyond them just being curved to your fingers, they also have a pattern on them and they use that triangle pattern that Corsair uses. Now, this I wouldn't say gives you more grip. It might give you a tiny bit more grip. However, most of it is actually the fatigue. It just feels better putting your finger on something that has some pattern in it rather than just setting it on. It's grippy. It's not a fully smooth surface on the normal keycaps, although it doesn't feel like this. I don't know, the fatigue, it just feels better to put your fingers on those and game with it. Also, it looks epic. It's all silver on it and it just looks really, really good. I kind of wish they had included a shift key like that and a spacebar key that kind of etched out where your thumb would go. However, having this is so freaking cool. I love stuff like that. It might be gimmicky to some of you, but don't put it on. It's just cool that they include it. Okay, RGB, let's talk about it. Obviously, this is Corsair. These are the silver speed RGB switches. So yes, RGB is fantastic. It's super bright, it's super vibrant. You got a ton of different colors. You can change any mode basically that you want. You can stack modes. You can do all of this through the Corsair IQ software. Tons and tons of things that you can do with the RGB. Now, Corsair's RGB just looks premium, like HyperX's RGB just looks premium. Some other keyboards that are nice and they're expensive, they just don't have the premiumness. And I think it has to do with color recreation through the RGBs. The colors of more premium brands like Corsair, HyperX, Logitech, they just have the RGBs down to a very refined level, which it doesn't sound like, oh, RGBs, like how could they be refined? Trust me, use a bunch of keyboards and you'll understand. But yeah, all the RGB is super fun to mess with in IQ, and this would probably be a great keyboard to put some pudding keycaps on if you are into that. All right, now a huge feature of this and the like Champion series stuff is that it has the Axon hyper processing Corsair tech in it, which basically means it's got the 8,000 hertz polling rate, super low input lag or latency, which this is absolutely overkill, but it's really nice to know that you basically have the fastest of the fastest out there. All right, let's talk about one of the coolest features of this keyboard. I absolutely love it. Some of you might not like that. There's a lot of gimmicks to this keyboard, which can be useful, and they're also just really fun, which I love that stuff. Okay, so let's talk about it. This is the tournament switch. I think that's what they call it. Okay, so basically it's a switch right where you plug the keyboard in, and you can either switch it to the left or to the right. And if it's switched to the right, it's just in the normal mode, and you switch to the left, the whole keyboard becomes red, a full static red. This will also turn off accidental macro activations, which is awesome for gaming. So basically this is like when you're gonna game, when you're gonna get serious about it, flip that switch on, whole thing becomes red and you're ready to go. It feels cool to do it, feels cool to have the change, but beyond that, there is actually a flip up that will lock the switch in the tournament mode, which is absolutely stupid. Like, there's no reason for it. There's no way you're accidentally gonna bump the switch on the back of your keyboard to go back to a normal mode, but it's there and it feels cool because you switch it over, you lock it up, and you're like, I'm in this right now. I'm gonna go game. All right, now the last thing is this does have USB-C for connectivity. It is fairly far recessed into the keyboard, but Corsair's cable is really nice and fits in there nicely. It is a pretty wide opening, so I think most custom key cables
would fit in there if you did want to do that. All right, but those are all of the best features and pros about this keyboard. Now, any cons that I would have with this would be the speed silver switches. These are great switches for gaming, and they're not really that big of a deal, but as being kind of a keyboard enthusiast, I would like a little bit of a smoother switch like a Gateron Yellow. However, if you're in it just for gaming, when I was using this, I was just trying to look at this from a gamer perspective. This is a freaking amazing keyboard, and I love those custom keycaps just for this thing, for the WASD and QR, whatever. Those are so cool. Yeah, overall for 140 bucks, this is probably the best gaming keyboard out there, in my opinion, and that I've used. It's so premium. It feels nice. You have a lot of fun stuff to play with. The keycaps, the scroll wheel, all the multimedia keys, the RGB mixed with that tournament switch. It just feels awesome to use. Again, guys, if you want to check out this keyboard, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, and Canada. I do got you guys. But yeah, this is really, really a cool keyboard, and one that will definitely be used in some gaming setups in the future. But yeah, if you want one keyboard to basically rule them all, and you're really into gaming, you're really into fast-paced gaming, like Warzone, stuff like that, this is going to be an epic keyboard for that. Trust me, I've been using it in that way. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video and it helped you out, help me out and throw a like below. And if you enjoy keyboard reviews, gaming tech reviews, peripheral reviews, I do a ton of those, so please consider subscribing below. But this was Consumer Tech Review, and I'll see you guys in the next video.